lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Rodney.
Things And praise God, praise God. We are here, Crisis Radio. We are ready to go. We are ready to get on our program. And so we are so glad to have you with us on Crises. How you doing, Christina?
Fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Doc?
Oh, you know what? I'm doing good tonight. Feeling great. I'm out here at a church singing tonight. And, I mean, they are just having some church in here.
Woo! I love it. I could tell with your energy tonight. I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's up there and out there. We are so glad to have all of you with us on Crisis Radio. We have a special guest tonight who has been with us before. She is actually going to be helping us even more so because we need a substitute. Christina and I are just breaking our backs. We're on TV, we're on radio, actually going to be on satellite in the phone somewhere, I think. We are telling everybody about crisis and about the whole issue of trauma and celebrating trauma.
Yes.
But tonight, our special guest that we want to make sure that we introduce to some of you, but for some of you, we're bringing back for a second time, and that is Miss Kalila Jones. Miss Kalila Jones, all the way from Los Angeles, California. So, Kalila, we are so glad to have you with us tonight. Hey, man, how you feel tonight, Kalila?
I am good. I am well blessed. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
Oh, yeah. I have known Kalila for some years now. She is always just one of those people who loves ministry. Kalila is as crazy can get, but she's crazy for God.
I love it.
Christina, she is right up your alley, crazy for God.
How are you?
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, so good to have you with us. A pleasure.
Kalila, we want you to tell us about your whole, thank you for that applause. We want you to tell us tonight. You told us about your life before, but we didn't get really, really deep into the life of the trauma of a deaf person. You grew up in the deaf community. There was a lot of stuff that most people don't know anything about. Why don't you just share with us what you'd like to share, what you want people out there to know about the trauma that happens in the deaf community, all right? Just take some time. Christina walked us through here, so I'm going to be coming in and out. But, yeah, just go ahead and just share this story, please.
Most definitely. I have no problem sharing that. I'm actually writing a book about it, but it be coming out in the next few months. But I have
congratulations on that. Yeah, sorry. Congratulations.
Are we having a delay? Okay, are we here? Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, so it's being a coder, that's what a person like myself is called, CODA, Child of Deaf Adult. And it's both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because it's such a community that comes together of all races and creeds, all denominations. I've seen people that were racist come together, but because of them being deaf, that will be the factor that brought them together. Atheists, Christians, none of that matter. Ku Klux Klan, Black Panthers, Guerrilla Family, none of that mattered because they were all deaf. Because deaf community is really small especially at that now they're growing and they're enlarging and they're becoming more accepted and more known. People are taking ASL classes, as before they just didn't acknowledge deaf as being deaf. It was like they're dumb or deaf and dumb or type of mislabelings come across. And so a lot of times they would suffer, which also brings us to domestic violence, even within the culture itself. Before them even having children, they would be domestically abused within their home because their parent couldn't sign to them because of frustration of how, those are the types of things people really don't think about. So those are the things that I've learned that my mother experienced. She has brothers and sisters, and so she got a little bit more hit more often than the rest of the kids did because of the frustrating and communicating. And so that itself constitutes as domestic violence, as I said earlier. But to speak from a Coda's point of view, seeing them all come together was always great. Because I would be exposed to a lot of different things, different foods, different languages. I learned that ASL, which is American Sign Language, just didn't limit itself to American Sign Language, but they were sign language for Chinese, they were sign language for Philippines, they were sign language for every culture, for every language. And so I learned how to say mother, father, brother, sister in different languages. Really simple stuff. I'm not fluent in all the other signs, just American Sign Language. So with that being said, but the downside to that is the trust would be so easily gained, and that allowed access to predators. That was because I myself was one of the older kids, so I did a lot of interpreting, which meant I would get dropped off at people's house to interpret, which meant I missed school sometimes. And so sometimes these would be women that had husbands, boyfriends, older kids, older sons, so that left me vulnerable to prey.
Oh, wow, I can imagine.
So those are the type of things that kind of, like I said, a blessing and a curse. Again, the blessing is learning different languages, being able to speak English and sign, American Sign Language. But above all, people does not pay attention to is that also sign language. Coming from deaf parents, the major language we first learn is body language, facial expressions. Those things that we learn first when, the upset, we as our kids that come from hearing parents, we learn this, we hear the sound of the person's voice that tells us. Our parents didn't make those kinds of sounds, so we had to read their face, read their body language, folded arms. Those things people learn later on in life, we learn as first lines of communication.
Wow, so, that's incredible.
Yeah, those are like type of things that you just pick up. It just kind of rolls with. So now I get those, people say bad vibes. It's like, no, you can see that written all over their body.
Well, because and that's your means of communication as well. So it's also like part of your sensory, because that's incredible. So for us, it's more, communication, kind of verbal, and then of course, you have the physical abuse. But this is something. Wow. No, thank you for sharing that, perspective. And you're right. It is almost like a stereotype for those that see. And I was because the majority of like my mom's side of the family, they all wear hearing aids, and so I understand to a certain extent as well. And then I've lost 80% of my hearing. As well in my left ear. So, I understand. Yeah. So I'm learning too to read body language. That's something that, over the past few years, it's something that I had to. So I totally, relate to what you're saying, to a certain extent. So, and it is, that's your form of communication is that body language. If you can't hear what that person's saying, then you look at their mouth, their eyes, the facial expressions,
Right.
And you can sense hostility or anger, and, so you were experiencing that at such an early, young age. But, and I commend you. You're very courageous, and then your book. That's really exciting, to be able to have. That's something that are you planning a book tour?
I'm working on that. I've been seeing that a lot, but I'm really nervous about it because I'm like, what if I know everybody has a voice, everybody has a purpose, and I know that it would help. I know that it would just help one somebody, but there's always that nervous, like, what if nobody reads it, or what if nobody, I find myself asking myself the same questions that I encourage my mentees. I have, people that I mentor, and I encourage them to write, and nobody wants to hear me, and I'm like telling them something, so I find myself asking the same questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you know what? And God wouldn't give you that, put that in your heart and the experiences as well. Remember, my grandmother would tell me that, God wouldn't give you what he knew that you couldn't handle. And I thought that was a joke because of what I was going through at such an early age, growing up. So to me, it was just kind of like, okay. But for you, I mean, did that growing up, of course, that does stand, those words for a lot of us that ring true.
Yes.
So for you, so, I mean, this book is going to open up the eyes to the reality and bring a lot of awareness, that, it does happen, and it's, so I'm sure this is going to encourage and inspire others to reach out, and be that voice for them, that's otherwise, not known at all. I mean, I'm shocked
of how far it goes. It's really my book is actually, the name of it is Satan's Prostitute, God's Prophet. And so
wow, that's pretty deep. I like that.
Yes, I mean, it's straight to the point. It's really simple.
It is. I like that.
It's you can't really, it's straight to the point, this explaining from going from a pure, innocent child to a straight prostitution, and now working for Satan to straight working for God, no chaser, no hold far, just all the craziness that I was, and the life, the gang banging, the how I got caught up, and just even deciding how God uses what I put out. And because it's so much, and it's only going to be a 200-page, I don't want it to be too big, because, I'll be 39 April 2nd. So, it's you can't really plug in somebody's whole life in a matter of 200 or 400 pages, you know what I mean? And so I figured, would be a place to start, and this is where he wanted me to start at. And so the coda part of it is exerted in there because it speaks to how things are set up for us, and things, the spiritual warfare, the domestic violence, and how it's easily, because of how things fell as a coda, it's easy for us to fall prey into domestic violence or any other situation when we get older. It becomes familiar. You think that it's a way of love. This is how you got attention, or this is the love language. It still all goes back to, the start of things. People don't understand, the cycle of life continues. People don't understand why at the same time every year this same thing keeps happening. You know what I mean? It speaks to those types of things,
No.
The same type of
and
patterns,
I agree.
The kind of people you draw, the kind of attention you seek, the kind of food you eat. People don't even pay attention. We crave the same kind of food. I've stopped celebrating certain holidays. We call them pagan holidays because that's what we call them, because to us they're not, some things are not spiritual, and so that's what we call them, and so, but I still find myself craving them, and so we call them holiday foods, right?
Oh, okay.
Because traditionally we have been set to every year eat this food. Every year, so this year I began to crave the Thanksgiving food or the Christmas foods, or this past year, and I was like, oh my God, I am really that's, and I've only stopped practicing these traditions in the past maybe 4 or 5 years. But remind you, I've been doing these things my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's hard to stop, and so now I crave it. So now when someone is with somebody, and if they're not doing a certain thing, it's like you almost crave, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you will crave that type of attention, and sometimes it's not always good.
Mhm. Yes. No, and I like how you said you used the word familiar earlier, and I wanted to bring that up again because a lot of people, it's so cliche to say, comfort zone, quote unquote, when people say, life happens outside of your comfort zone. Life begins out of your comfort zone. I'm going to stir you up from your, anyways, the comfort zone period. I disagree with all of that. Yeah. People will cling, because I'm a survivor as well from domestic and sexual abuse. So it's not, I love that you use that word familiar because nobody's comfortable in an abusive situation, whether, that's like what you said, it's a familiarity so some people that are kind of born into that, unfortunately, and, like you said, it becomes familiar. So you have other people questioning, why would you stay in that? Why would you da-da-da? How come you keep, running back to these guys or, like a cycle? Oh, here's another one that's abusive, or coming out of one abusive thing into another, that's because of that familiarity of that. So, yeah, and in order to break that, it begins with that mindset. But no, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And with, so are you traveling and doing, are you doing speaking engagements or anything like that to bring more awareness to the, so do you prefer, is it better to say deaf or hard of hearing? Because I kind of, I use, kind of both. What is your preference? Or does that?
No, I just always say I'm a coder. And so when I say that I'm a coder, and then I explain what that is, then sometimes we have some cousins that will say, no, I'm a cousin of a deaf adult. Ha, deaf humor, right?
Yeah.
So coder. Right. So we also have our little deaf jokes. It's really hilarious. So I usually just introduce myself and then say, what my position is in the community. And the reason why I say that is because what I found out, which is also in the book, is that in the deaf community, you'll find out that if you're not actually deaf yourself or hard of hearing yourself, you're really not part of the community. You're just in the community. You're like born in the community. Or if you find a hearing person in deaf community, it's usually because they're a child, are related to, or they happen to marry into, or they adopted. There's a reason, or they're interpreting. There's a reason and purpose that's served for a hearing person, other than them being related to be in the community. So you kind of like have an attachment, but disadvantage or disattachment. You know what I mean? A detachment. There is a detachment to the culture or environment, I should say. So, like I said, I normally just introduce myself and then, say who I am and how I fit into the equation. So as far as traveling, I haven't started traveling, but I do speak. I preach, I teach, I mentor. So I do it in seasons. And so, but I'm very much open to when God wants me to go. I'm not going to say I'm going to go everywhere because I'm not going to go everywhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but so tell me more about because I was listening to you as far as that, things that you've experienced, and my mouth dropped. You're talking about prostitution, and for those that weren't able to hear your story. On the the night that we interviewed you, could you reiterate, if you don't mind, a little bit? That way they can, listen more on some of your personal experiences. That way they can embrace, wow, okay, as far as the reason for your book and Yeah, if you can share a little bit with us.
Well, the reason for my book is that it first came about. I was asked to do that, like this crusade, and it was kind of like 2 parts. And I had to do it in 2 parts. And we had a certain amount of set of minutes to do it. And so the first part was supposed to speak to the part of how I lived without God. And then the second part was the healing part, how I lived with God. And so I had to come up with a name for it, and that's how I came up with Satan's prostitute, God's prophet. And so how I end up in the game was through a friend. We met in high school. I just came back from Wisconsin, Ohio. I was in the system out there. I'd been in the system in a few states. And at this particular time, I was still in high school, just come from Wisconsin, and was in a foster home out there. And then they sent me into a treatment center because, I was sent to a treatment center because I tried to commit suicide several times. I was there with my mother and her husband. And a few of my blended, I come from a blended family, brothers, sisters, biological, adopted, step, half. Our family is very mixed and blended. Hearing, deaf, hard of hearing, black, white, Indian. I tell you, when I say we're mixed, we are definitely mixed. And so African, I have a brother that's Nigerian. I have a brother. But we don't really do halves in our family. We just say, if that's your brother, I think with a culture thing, or with our culture, we just, either that's your brother. If that's your cousin, that's your cousin. There's no halves or steps. So that's how
there's no, exactly.
Yeah. So now this new thing of trying to explain, well, on what side. If I tell you that's my brother, okay?
Right. Yeah. So that's what he is.
Yeah,
but no. So. And so tell me then, as far as you, because I'm sure people are, listening to you and they're wondering, well, what steps did you take as far as, coming out of that? I mean, what did it take to, turn your life around? Sometimes it's a moment, sometimes it's an experience, a thought, epiphany. So what made you, what was that turning point for you?
Well, I was no stranger to making right choices or better choices. It was a matter of convenience at the time, and it was a way of escape because of me being, like I said, in high school, just coming from being in a treatment center, trying to commit suicide and not feeling loved, rejected, so forth and so on, and struggling through high school, having to buy my own hygiene products. I'm like in high school, my best friend get pregnant, so we both trying to figure out how to live in life because we're providing for ourselves. And so the best friend, gives me this is the image, because she didn't seem to struggle very much, and so that's how I get into the life. But at some point, it's just kind of like better, and the things that was happening, the smoke, the dreams that they give you is not real. Like they can only keep up. If they're real, then it's going to be real for the long haul. But I started seeing the fakeness. I would go out and make money and come, and there would be an eviction notice on the door, and I didn't understand that because I just went and sold tail. Like, I done sucked and did some stuff, and there's an eviction notice. I don't understand that. And so it just was like I was 18, but I still knew math. That still didn't add up. Like, I got an A in math. So I know if the rent is only $500 and I'm making $3,000 or $1,200 a night or a week, however you see fit to count it, I should never, have an eviction notice, or I will leave and come back and the cable will be cut off. And I could never understand because I made enough in a week to cover everything for the whole month. And still things would be cut off. And so one day I just suddenly, after a fight with the both of them and back and forth, suddenly it was like, read your word, go back to your first love. And I just started reading Proverbs. And from each day I got up, I read Proverbs, and and kind of counting, and I started sneaking off and going to church or Bible study, and I should have been out working and like doing stuff like that. I just felt a yearning to go back to the house of God. I felt the yearning to be back where I knew I was supposed to be in my rightful place. I was not a stranger to who God is, my God. I was not a stranger to who Jesus is. I was not a stranger. I don't know how or why I got here or how they got me, but they gonna let go. That's all I knew. And so I began to read the Word of God.
No, you got that right. I kid you not. Yep, and they got you. They got you.
They got me. Like, they got me. How they got me. I don't know what happened. They were smooth. They were slick, and they were sly. But we gonna get up out of here, yo. So,
right.
And so in 30 and was like it's 31. So I remember it was a month. Oh, wow, I can't remember. Oh, my goodness. I remember at some point it was like I remember having to double up on scriptures, to double up on chapters. At some point, 2 chapters in one day towards the end. However, which way I think it was like 30 days instead of 31 days in this particular month because I was supposed to read a chapter a day. And when it came to that last day, before I knew it, I packed up what I could, and whatever I could not take, I never looked back again.
Wow, that's incredible. So it was just a made-up mind, basically. And we've heard that a lot on Crisis Radio and TV. We have heard that a lot. You know, when, you know, like that saying goes, you know, when a woman gets sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know, and it's not about no plan B, plan C. Nah, just that, whoop, that's it. It's like, yep, that fuse has been lit to the dynamite stick. And, yep, just let her be. Because, yeah, I've done that. I remember finding, I had $50 to my name, finding an apartment. I remember sitting outside in the parking lot. I pulled up, called my pastor. We prayed together. And I walked in, and I guess the look on my face and God, prayer, but I had $50 to my name, but we signed papers for me to move in. And I drove back and forth. All I moved was our kitchen stuff, bathroom stuff, my kids' stuff, and then clothes, and I left everything else. I filed for divorce, so we had no idea. Yeah, so it was, we were gone. That was it. We were gone. But, yeah, the same thing. It's just that made-up mind, you know, it's that, I think that link to kind of survival as well, you know, our survival instincts.
Yes, because you don't want to you don't want to, you know, be out in the cold. You don't want to go into a situation with family that you feel like you're in the same position. You just don't have a pimp. Because I felt like even with family, it was the same thing. You know, I lived with my aunt, and there was an income that SSA or SSI, or however which way they called it back then, and then it was like, oh, you get $400 a month, so I'm gonna give you $200. I'll keep. It was like $460 something. She was like, I'll keep. You know, I'll give you $2. That way you can buy your hygienes and do whatever you need to do out of that, and that'll be your lunch money. And I was like, you know, that's a fair bet. You know what I mean? And so I was never home anyway. But then after a while, it came time to where it was like, if I left a light on and went to school, she gonna take $30 out of that $200. Or if she thought if I washed clothes at her house, that was another $10 or $20 she would take. So it was like, wow, reasons to take. Yeah, it was crazy. Like. Then when they cut it off or whatever, then I got a job, and so that's also in the book. This is also in the book. It was a setup. It was a setup all the way along the line that the enemy really has set up for you, for me in this instance. This was a setup for, when you take money, and then I end up having to, kiss on boys, lay up under boys, or there was a girl that acted like she liked me, but I knew I wasn't gay, but I played along long enough to get the money so that I can go buy the things that I needed. So if I was already doing that, it was nothing to me. I might as well go get a pimp and be with a pimp. At least I have a roof over my head. At least I know, I know where we stand with a pimp is, as long as you respect the pimp and you bring home the money, you're good. But at home with your family, you don't know if you leave the light on, you're going to get put out. You don't know if you leave the toilet seat up, you're going to put out. If you don't clean up right, if you don't wipe the walls. Like, it was like spring cleaning every other weekend. It was like we just cleaned up. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, wow. Just hearing, that, like, from, your perspective, I mean, that's amazing. So it's like you were saying, back to being familiar. So this literally like routine. It's literally, routine. It becomes that. And I believe, that's what happens as far as, that cycle of abuse, which a lot of people can look that up, online. And I know there's more information, what Doc is involved in, which is a No More, DV. Yeah, so there's a group of men and brothers that, Brothers Against Domestic Violence. So, they have courses, and, this is something that, we're fighting back for. Silence is not a solution or an option. And, that's why we're just very passionate about this. So, and what would you say to those that are in the deaf community, those that are in, hard of hearing, that are, have been experiencing this? Because I know my kids will mess with me sometimes, as far as like they're mouthing certain things, but they know whether I could hear them or not. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll mess with me, kind of. But I know that some women, we'll do that. Yeah, I remember planes flying over. I'm going, Mom. Then she turns and I'm mouthing, blah, 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 blah. She's like, what? I mean, we were just kind of mess. But I also know of a few girls that I have actually counseled and prayed with and consulted with that have experienced, because they're hard of hearing, or they didn't have the battery died, the hearing aid broke, whatever the case may be, but they have dealt with harassment at work with people mumbling under their breath, as far as saying bad things about them, or, especially men, like talking crap, as far as like sexually at them. And, so they were just kind of like, wow. So then like they're muttering things under their breath, and I know they're saying, so there's a lot in that. But what would you say to those that are being abused, those that are dealing with, just that abuse against them, anything that are in the community? What would you say to them?
I would say paper trail is the first thing. You always have to create paper trail. That's number one. And two is just understand that it comes with the territory, and it shouldn't be. We shouldn't be desensitized to that people talk about us for whatever the reason is. So it goes back to the childhood thing is people, miserable people, unkind people, people who are insecure are going to be mean to other people. They're going to find reasons, whether you're deaf, whether you have a lazy eye, or whether you have a limp, or whether you have, people are going to always find a reason to pick at someone. We've had someone recently that we know via Facebook just had a baby, and they're teasing the girl because of what she named the baby. I thought the name was nice, but somebody else thought the name was ratchet and ghetto. Well, it's her baby.
It's her choice. Yeah, exactly. It's her baby. Just, Yeah, and
people tease us for something we have a choice in. So, and then people tease us for something we don't have no control in at all.
Exactly. No, that's a good point.
So, that's what I say. Like, for me, I was rejected from my own mother because of my sex, because I'm a girl. I don't have that's also in the book. I have no control of that. Like, so if
you're
you don't
right.
have, so it's just about getting to anybody that's in a situation where they're being teased, regardless of what their advantages, disadvantages is. It's just a matter of, so I used to be someone to call it out. Well, because I like to play the dozens. I grew up playing the dozens, clowning, roasting. I got the biggest clapbacks in the roasting games. Like, for everything you got to say to me, I got 99 and a half more words to say, and I got some long words, too.
Yeah, that's me, right? Oh my gosh, I know my mouth got me in trouble a lot. Yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I don't think I had the soap in the mouth type thing, but yeah, my fanny was, red and with the belt. Yeah, I was bad with my mouth, but I had to learn to, I still don't have a filter now, but it's just I know when to hold my tongue. You know what I mean? Like I got that self-discipline. I just want to walk away. I walk. I'm just. We're just being real tonight. We're being real. But that's and that's this. I mean, for the deaf community as well. I can't imagine everything that you guys experience in that aspect. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would be beneficial to someone to create maybe like a support group or like a meetup and anything of that nature? Do you think what do you think would help in the community to those that are experiencing abuse? Mhm.
There are. Most of the time they have like where I would, again, I have to say this, but it's in the book. This is so funny.
Oh.
There are a few people that take the time to learn ASL. There was a woman when I grew up that was named my hearing godmother, because you have your deaf godparents and your deaf family and cousins and all of them. So she was named my hearing godmother, who and everybody and all the adults in the building that could hear, that only took the time, the only one that took the time to learn ASL and went to Trey Tech, Los Angeles Trey Tech College here in California, Los Angeles, California. So there are ones who take the time, but see, now they're more outgoing than before. They have interpreters in the classes for them now. They have a whole section for them now. They have more technology, like what people are doing live now today, like Facebook Live. That's how the deaf people have been communicating for the past, I want to say, 20 years. Live just now. So deaf people are actually much more advanced now and don't really need to depend on their children as much now as before.
Yes, that's right.
Because I remember being in the OBGYN room with my mother getting a pastor, and I was like, oh, my God, this is disgusting.
Yeah, wow. But no, and you're absolutely right. So there's more of that freedom. You have that independence, so you're out there more. You're
right.
Yeah. No, that's right. There are more
outlets for them. They have more social media. They're able to be on Facebook now. I'm in these roast groups on Facebook. I see deaf people rolling in their roast, and I'm like, what you doing here? Now, as soon as somebody talk about you can't hear, your feelings going to be hurt. Get out.
Aww.
But I'm glad that I brought that up, is because with that being said is that I've been able to educate some of them, because the way that deaf people talk and the way that they write is almost like in Spanish. I took Spanish, and even thinking in Spanish is not the same as English. It's like, mi pluma es rojo. That's bad. That's why I'm saying my pen is red, but in Spanish it's like the red pen or something like that, if I remember correctly. So in Spanish it's somewhat the same thing. We don't say I'm going to the store. It's like our store go I. So when they type it, they say the same thing when they write. So people on Facebook was teasing the deaf people and bullying them, calling them stupid, low functioning, and how they.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so mad. Ugh.
Yes. Oh, I was fuming. Now, mind you, my mother and I have not had the best, relationship, and although I've had, my experiences with the deaf community, I still don't like bullying, period, in no shape, form, or fashion. And on the inside, I was just like boiling like this. So I just had enough and just finally put my hair back. I didn't put no makeup on. I didn't fix my eyebrows. I didn't put no eyelashes on. I didn't do nothing. I just got straight on live and said, you know what? I need to educate you guys on how to communicate with deaf people. They're not deaf and dumb. They're just simply deaf, and all of them are deaf, and all of them are not mute. They're just, speaking impaired. So I had to just break down all the different deaf cultures and how the different deaf levels and stuff, and explain to them it's just like a person. If people that Mexicans don't like to be called El Salvadorians, and El Salvadorians don't want to be called,
right, Latin and Hispanic. There is a difference.
Oh my God, yes. And, black folks got that too. The Africans, the Jamaicans, and Americans. It's like, look here, we all
exactly.
And guess what? If they ship us over, we all going together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Vote because you voted wrong, not for real. So, I'm sorry. I'm getting silly.
No, don't apologize. And that's what I like about Crisis, because we, some people we interview, they're like, they want to know, hey, what are we going to talk about, or what are we going to? It's like, you know what? It's unscripted, because we want to speak from the heart. And I do let the guests know in advance too, or I'm sure, Doc will remind them, like, we want you to be yourself, enjoy yourself as well, and share what you're comfortable with sharing. Because some people, once they're on the air, when you remember why we're here, we are celebrating the survivors of trauma. So, it's easier, right? Yes, it's easier to share your story, because it's like, for one, that, it's past, and by other people, but I'm a firm believer that there is healing in your testimony. There's, every time you talk about it, to me, you just get, it's something that it's just empowering. Like, wow, that realization that, God has brought me through. I'm living proof that He is able. That's just something. Yeah. So it's just. So I commend you for writing a book.
I'm definitely like you can see me. You can't see me.
Right. Yeah. But and this is something that I just believe that, our experiences, build our character, and we just move into, and that's what I like about, the celebration of this survival of overcoming, because with everyone that we meet and talk to, through Crisis, we come to that understanding that, they're pulled into their destiny through those, through that power of overcoming, being delivered, so here we are and, I want to encourage people today that have overcome, it is a daily struggle sometimes, will you remember things? Of course, but you have to remember you're moving on, you're stepping forward and not looking back, so pat yourself on the back for, some effort is better than none, but as long as you're taking, those initiatives, those steps daily towards a healthier, better life, and, not only for yourself, but your children, family, friends. I was homeless for 8 months, and I remember, and my family lived in the same town that I was in, but to me, it was more of a humiliation type thing that I was, and of course, everybody was saying, I had to hear everything different. I was strung out. I was apparently whoring around. I was drunk, and that was like so not the case, at the time. It was not the case, but so, yeah, once I found a job and saved money enough, and just got out of that situation. But, my point is, people will make judgment, critique, criticism. That's where that abuse and that bullying comes in when they don't understand. Sometimes it's just, because me being a survivor, I had to get to that point where instead of hating, the perpetrators from the, what I've experienced through the majority of my life is yes, that forgiveness, you have to forgive yourself as well, because there's times, I would just be so bad and beat myself down that I became morbidly obese. I was over 265 pounds because it was like self-abuse, and we can get to that point too because we put blame on ourselves, so that's something that I wanted to, talk about. Is that anything that you ever experienced?
I think
Because I went into a food addiction. That's what it was. I went into a food addiction.
My addiction was more of trying to fit in, of trying to be accepted. I just wanted to be a part of somebody's family, so my addiction was approval. My addiction was times I would succumb to the bondage or the manipulation or, you know, stuff like that when I knew better, whether it was covering for somebody or lying for somebody. And those type of things were just as dangerous because people have gotten killed behind lies. You know what I mean?
Wow. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yep, you're absolutely right. Then that is so easy to, like you said, succumb to that and then fall into that process. And that is an addiction in itself as well. So how would you come out of that, though, and with that, because that is a powerful statement right there to bring up. So I'm so glad you brought that up. How would you get out of that type of addiction?
I don't think you ever really, this kind of addiction, I don't think you ever really get out of. I think it's like any other addiction. You just one day away from hitting the pipe, or one day away from selling yourself, or one day away from eating, or one day, it's all the same, or gambling. It's no really, you know, it's kind of like every time you come in contact with somebody that you think you really like or get along with or, you know, I find, so it's always something that I could risk. So I always have to check myself daily. Okay, is this a healthy relationship? So it's an evaluation of, is the relationship healthy, or because sometimes
I like that. Because it's a daily thing that you have to focus on your thoughts. There's a scripture in regards to that, which take every thought captive.
Right.
Take every thought captive. Yeah. So that attests to that. Wow. Okay. So keep going. No, that's very interesting.
So it's kind of like I have to remind myself that I have to remember, because even in ministry, there are people that are in ministry for the wrong reasons. And so they'll take your gift, and I've caught the game. Like I have, you know, even though, you know, pimping and hoeing was a bad situation, but I saw it in ministry. I have been like, I was like, wait a minute, did this fool just pimp my whole anointing? Like he just, the gift that God gave me to be able to play with the youth and teach the youth, and now I done made a fundraiser and they done paid their car note with the youth. Oh, my God. You know, because I wanted to please. And I felt it, and the Lord told me that because I don't want to come against leadership, because they said maybe in other churches I've come against leadership, so I'm pleasing, or because I had home issues, I don't want to bring home issues into the church, and because, you know what I mean? The pastor is a female pastor, so the mother, she has that mother influence on me, so therefore I want to please her the same. So I want to, even though I know that's not scripture, but I'm going to give her my whole check anyway. You know what I mean? Because I want to be accepted. I want to go to lunch with them, or on my job, for example, if we all working and it's all, you know, we all together and we are doing whatever we're doing. And because I want to be able to go to lunch with the rest of the coworkers, you know, I laugh at a joke I know I'm not supposed to laugh at.
Okay, just to fit in, so you'll make certain choices. And I believe, so even, you know, from young to old, I think we're all guilty of that, you know, to a certain extent. But that's something. But that's something I've learned, just the universal language is, you know, love, and you got to love yourself enough to be yourself around people and not worry about them accepting, because then you make choices that, you know, could be hurtful and abusive, you know, emotionally, verbally, neglectfully towards others. So, that's why we're in our last few minutes of the show, but I do want you to, if you can, please let everyone know if you have any final words that you'd like to share, and then please let everyone know how they can get a copy of your book and get in touch with you.
Okay. My email is bluefireprophetess, BLUEFIREPROPHETESS @yahoo.com. Again, that's bluefireprophetess @yahoo.com. The book isn't out yet. It's in. I'm actually in progress of writing it. It should be out in the next few months, though, because I've set a goal.
Oh, that's right.
I plan to reach my goal. But I will have you guys get you guys the information. If I'm not doing a fill-in before it's out, I will get you guys the information to put out for a book signing here in L.A., Los Angeles, California. So I will be doing that.
Perfect.
So that is in plan as well, and I will get the information. That way people can buy their books and come so that I can sign them. Bring them so that I can sign them. I just want everybody to know, just trust in God above all things. Weapons form, but they will not prosper. You can survive it if you are going through it right now. Know that if you want to, you can walk away. It is that easy. People say it's not that easy, but it is. It's material things. You can get material things back, and God will give you double. He will give you triple. He'll give you the desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Along with His. So I just encourage you, male, female. Now we have trannies and we have aliens and genders and queer. So to anybody that will, that heart gets here. So we want to get everybody.
Exactly.
We don't want to leave nobody out. Just trust God and move with Him, because he just wants. He had me tell someone yesterday, just as early as yesterday, that He wants us to come back to Him like we used to when we were kids, and we wanted that Barbie doll, and we wanted something we would earnestly pray for, or when we didn't want that one, oh God, please don't, we don't want to get that one thing. Those same innocent, heartfelt prayers we gave Him as a child, we want them right now. So that, I felt that right there. So that's what I close out. So if there's nothing else, that's what I close out with. Just go back to Him with them earnest, childlike prayers, and use your faith like you did as a child. Remember, we used to just jump and not think nothing about it, and the parents be more scared than us.
I still do that now. Yeah. I still do that now. So my mom is like, constantly with me. I'm like, that's something. Yes, but I hear you. Yep, I hear you.
Yes.
But it's having that innocence. Yeah.
Yes. We want God to be like, slow down. You're doing too much. Okay. Calm down. I'm calming down, Father. I'm calming down.
But no, so welcome aboard, being our co-host in here in the spot with us. We are, delighted to have you, truly, truly blessed to have you a part with us. To Kimmy Kim, the producer, Elation Radio, and Elation Magazine. I want y'all to connect with us online, www.elationmagazine.com. Yes, you can just, reach out. There's some awesome. We are uplifting souls worldwide through Elation Magazine, Elation Radio, and Pray for Us, soon to be Elation TV Network. So God is doing some amazing things. Yes, we are excited. Crisis TV will be on Arizona TV beginning April 1st, 2018, every Sunday at 5 p.m., We are doing an awesome ad campaign right now in advance. So please take advantage of this opportunity right now, because yes, please, it is limited. So we do have that for ads, commercials, shout outs, everything. Connect with us on social media as well. We are out of time. But as Doc always says at the end of our shows, agape always. Yes, we love you. Thank you, sis. Love you. Enjoy your week, and we will see y'all next Friday night on Elation Radio with Crisis. God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless.
In the
So why did you lie that say don't do something? When somebody else tells you to don't do something, why do you do it anyway?
I had given up, figured what's the use? See, my nights were long and
but did not
cold.
A while back,
Oh yes, they were. And I felt so all alone. Yes, I did.
I can't hear you.
I threw the towel in. I thought it was the end.
You don't ever throw nothing.
But you stepped in, yes.
What?
You saved me. Oh, yeah. You saved me, yeah. You brought me out. Brought me up, yes, but I couldn't find my way. You saved me, yeah. Oh. See, I fell so deep in sin. Yes, I did. Oh, and misery became my closest friend. Yes, it did. I tried to break away, but Satan said there was no way, and I thought I never will, but you saved me. Ooh, you saved me, yes you did. Oh, you brought me out. You saved me, and I should have been dead a long time ago. Lord, you reached way down at the bottom of the barrel. You saved me, yes you did. You picked me up. All of the glory thing, and you placed my feet on the rock today. Yes, you did.